Good morning, James McQuivey here, working today on the range on two things. Number one, I'm going to shoot patch ball for the first time. I only got the pillow ticking, and I've got that all prepared, washed and prepared to go. So I'll do patch ball today. That in theory should help my aim. It's better for aim. It's less historically accurate, and that's not the only thing I'm going for, so I'm fine with that. I'll also shoot some cartridges today, but I'll shoot both. But really what I'm going to focus on is firing from the standing rifle rest so that I can hopefully introduce less error with my inability to hold still and just focus on making sure that I know what's going to happen when I'm sighted down the barrel a certain way. So for those of you who don't know and haven't looked up close, I will let me get a close-up shot of this in a minute. When you are looking down this barrel, there is no front sight. You can see here that thing on the front is actually a lug that's intended to hold the bayonet. So it's a bayonet mount. And I'm going to see if I can get a shot of what it looks like to look at the target down that barrel, because yeah, I can't really, but let me move this a little bit. Okay, so when you're looking down this barrel at the target, let's aim at the target, how about? Okay, target's down there. That you don't have a rear sight. There's nothing on the rear of the musket other than this sort of screw back here that I use to sort of center the screw and the lug to make sure I'm not pointing at some weird direction. And then I'm looking down, of course, using this lug, you can see, as the front sight. Now it's so big, see if I can really show you. It basically covers the entire target at this distance. I brought a friend out here yesterday to shoot. He brought some of his rifles to show me what it's like to shoot with a modern rifle, which I have never done in my entire life. We were shooting at 100 yards, and man, is that a dream. You can aim so well with the modern scopes. We were shooting at a 6 times magnification on the scope that he's got, a beautiful scope. And it was just amazing how much control you have over it, also how sensitive the trigger is compared to this thing. So I had him shoot. We shot at 50 and at 100 with the musket, and he was astonished at how hard the trigger pull is. So that does also influence, your ability to hold it straight and keep it straight. So anyway, after shooting with him, I realized, what I need to do is rest my rifle on something so that I can minimize those extra wobbles and wiggles, or whatever you want to call them, that are getting in the way of me firing well, so that I can figure out how to aim this thing. Because when you're looking down this barrel, you're sort of approximating what it is you're aiming at. All right, with all of that in mind, let me go ahead and shoot some cartridge first and then patch ball, and I'll get some close-ups of preparing the patch ball so you can see what that's like for those of you who haven't done it before. I haven't done it before, so we'll see how it goes. To shoot today, I'm going to be doing not the historical practice of priming with the cartridge and then loading on a primed weapon. I get a lot of comments on this one from people, and it's interesting. I recognize that it is safer to prime after. Now, the cartridge process, of course, you can't really do that because you're pouring down all of the cartridge powder. So you need a separate vessel for priming powder. And I did finally get one. So I've got a priming powder. There's a name for this, and I've just forgotten what it is. And I will use it to prime after I load the charge and have the ball all ready to go. So, but I am curious, those of you that do this a lot, I see it done both ways in the videos, and I recognize the absolute safety of, something can go off half-cocked. That's where the phrase comes from. I don't know, I'd just love your comments on this one. I still feel like the British did this every day, and I don't have that expertise, so maybe I shouldn't be cocky about it. Anyway, I'm going to generally adhere to priming after loading in the future, but I'd love to hear from other people who are more expert on this, on what they do differently given their experiences. So anyway, let's load. A couple of things I'm doing differently than I've done in the past today. I'll share with you. You can, see what you think, or disagree or agree. So the last while, and most of the videos I've seen, after you empty the cartridge, so you've got the ball in there, after you empty the cartridge, you just stuff it in, tapered end in. Now, I've seen several people say, no, better off inverting it. This top part of paper just becomes wadding now. And the goal here is that it makes a tighter seal between the powder and the ball. Tighter seal meaning that as the gases quickly build up at the beginning of ignition, you end up with more force, which is going to propel the ball more forcefully and with greater accuracy than a ball that ignites slowly or the gases don't build up. Anyway, I don't know that that's true, but when I was here yesterday shooting with a friend, that's the way we did it. And the accuracy certainly didn't suffer. I can't say for sure that it improved. Okay, so what I have now is the 100 grains of powder in the barrel. I have now inverted the ball and cartridge, so the ball is still in the twine wrapped part of the cartridge, pushed down with the paper now acting as wadding, and it's been tapped down. So I don't have it primed. As I said, I'm going to try to adhere more to the practice of priming. One of the nice things about doing it this way is by using a separate vessel is it lets me use a different kind of powder. And I did finally get that. So much of me embracing this approach was because I didn't really have priming powder. I now have 3F I'm using. You can use 4F too, and I'm just visually the difference, and I don't remember, I hadn't shown you the visual. That's the visual of what you're looking at, sorry, in terms of the difference. Very much smaller clumps of, I want to say grains, but technically grains when you're referring to powder doesn't refer to the individual granule. It refers to the weighted measure of grains as a volume of measure, where the phrase grain of salt comes from. Anyway, all right, we'll go ahead and shoot this cartridge. I'll do a couple cartridge, and then I'll go back and see where I got on target, hopefully, and then I'll switch to patch ball. I'll shoot on a fresh target. It's not like these are expensive. I don't know why I keep trying to shoot on the same target then, and then I can't remember why. I can't remember where my prior shots were. So today, that's what I'm doing. Go ahead and watch. Let's go take a look. All right, that's an interesting change for me, trying to compensate. Instead of grouping down here, which is where I usually am, you can see a lot of ball that have gone off completely off of this same spot where I've been shooting. Today I started up here and went here and then here and then here. Couple of reasons I'm going high. I think these cartridges that I'm working with, I had the extra 10 grains that were supposed to go into the priming pen, so those two went high. And when I realized that and adjusted my aim for it, I got these two. Now these were left, which is interesting. I usually go left. So learning along the way. Now I'm going to shoot on the other target there, which you can see right there, for the patch ball. And let's see how that goes. I will say, so far, I feel like I have a lot more control over inverting the ball so that it goes in with the extra paper as a wadding more than the way I was doing it before. Honestly though, because I'm using this rifle rest, it's that's really probably the best explanation for why I have a better sense of my aim. Well, we'll give it a shot and see what happens. Give it a shot. I didn't even mean that to be so punny. Oh, groan. Okay, let's try this patch and ball thing. I've got some ball here. Got some scissors. You'll see how I use those in a minute. Got my 2F Schützen powder, my pillow ticking. But we're going to start with the powder measure. The powder measure, which is calibrated to let me determine how much powder I want, and I'm going to set it to 100. You can see that, probably not. So swivel off the top, pour the powder right down in. I could use a powder horn for this. I've got one. But you just pour until it starts to overflow the top. Oh, I got a little bit less than 10 going in there because it's a little bit below the top, but that's fine. 10, 100. All right, now you have a nice spout. Just pour it out. Let it run out. It's out. Okay, now here's the tricky part. Get the ticking. Now, I'm going to do a move that I don't think I've seen anyone do. But I'm going to do it anyway, because I feel like I need this to be lubricated. I've seen people who don't lubricate. I've seen people mostly who do. But they do it with pre-cut patches that are the right size, and I don't really know the right size. So I'm going to do what I've seen other people do, which is just put it right on top. Put the ball in, sprue up. Get it so that it's situated in there and that it's, you know, tightly snug with the fabric. What you're trying to do is you want to create a solid seal over the powder, not just so that the ball doesn't roll out, but so that you get that compression of gases at initial ignition that creates the force that expels the ball. And you know, just dropping the ball in plain, you can on top of powder, pack it down a little bit. It'll stay in there, especially if the barrel is at all fouled from the previous shots that you've done. But it won't create as tight a seal, and so that won't propel the ball as forcefully. Anyway, so what I'm doing now is just cutting the excess ticking around the top. We will see. Those of you who've done this will say, oh, you've got too much fabric or too little fabric. I don't know. All I know is that the ball is nicely stuck in the fabric. It seems to want to go down straight and not roll off the fabric. That's key. I'm just testing it with my finger as I push it down. Will that continue to be the case? Seems to be. We're going to try the tap it down. See if that continues all the way down. Feels like it. Tap it in. And I've got my first patched ball. A little bit nervous, if I'm going to be honest. I have no idea what's going to happen. Let me prime this guy. I'll go right from the... Actually, I won't want to do that. Grab my priming. Just using a plastic priming case because I got to refill my cute little dedicated priming measure. All right. And we're ready to try patch ball. All right, I hate to say this, internet, but that was one of the best shots I think I've ever had in terms of feeling like I lined it up properly. Of course, the rifle rest helps. But even compared to my other shots, I'm this far off of the bullseye, the black ring, I guess the second bullseye. And it's almost exactly where I was aiming too. You know, sometimes I get a shot that's really close, but I'm not sure that that's where I felt like I was aiming. Okay, we're gonna try this patch ball again with less commentary this time. Yep. And again. All right, one more patch ball. As you saw on that last one, the ball got away from me. I was trying to adjust the ball and the position of the ball and the ticking, and I let it slip and the ball went down in. So I finished it with just some paper wadding, which is another way that's actually historically accurate to shoot, not usually for muskets of this size, but maybe a fowling piece or something. A smaller caliber, smaller ball. You know, a couple of wadded up pieces of paper stuff down there. Again, it doesn't solve the problem that we're here to solve, which is how do we create the best seal on the gases. It does help keep it impacted a little bit, as I understand it, and it does also, hold on, I gotta concentrate on this evidently because I did it wrong last time. So it does, you know, it's better than nothing, that paper wadding, but you want the seal to happen on the other side of the ball. And so if you're gonna actually intend to paper wad, I think you paper wad the powder, then the ball, and then again the ball. And this didn't happen this time, obviously, because I let the ball slip and it got away from me. Being very careful this time. What's happening is you're pushing, I can show you this, I think, is you're pushing on the ball. I'm using that sprue as a way to feel whether or not the ball's trying to roll, because if the ball rolls, and it rolls in such a way that it escapes the confines of the patch, then it's going to roll away, and that's what happened last time. I dry practiced this before I came here, and yep, it happened to me way more often than I imagined it would. I just sort of thought, oh, that ticking is just going to do such a good job of clinging onto the ball, and I don't know if maybe I'm lubricating it wrong or if this is just one of the hazards that you have to deal with. But okay, I think we're good with this one. I'll get this one primed at half cock. Priming. Come on. There we go. And then I'll go down and see how I've done. I've got a couple of shots that I'm very happy with. we'll see the rest of them. Okay, that last one was high. Let's go take a look. Just while I'm walking down there, this is one of the reasons that you're discouraged from doing patched ball in places where it's dry, which is not here in Massachusetts. But you know, this is the smoldering remains of the patch, and it's smoking, and I'm going to stomp it out here. But you know, if I were in a place where there was anything that was remotely tinder, this would burn up the whole area. So anyway, all right, coming up on the target. Oh, interesting. This is where I am. 5 shots, 5 on target. This first one was the one that I mentioned to you, my very first patched ball that just felt right. And then my second one, I believe, now that I'm thinking about it, was on target. I'll go back and play the footage back and see. And then my third one, I believe it's the last 2 that went high. One of those was the paper wad, and one of those was the last patch ball that I had. And honestly, I deliberately aimed high on that one because I felt like I didn't have enough powder. Okay, that's the shooting for today. The next video I'll post, I'll share with you some of the cartridge making that I have done. And that's where I'll get into the conversation I hinted at before about some, I say inflammatory, I don't know that it is. It's so interesting today, I can't tell who's going to be upset by what. There's always somebody who's going to be upset by something, especially when it has to do with guns. Anyway, stay tuned for that after this video, and thank you for shooting with me.